I welcome the opportunity to take part in this debate, which is of the utmost public importance and indeed is in the utmost of public interest that we address the issues which are before us here today. I want to say at the outset that I found the BBC Spotlight programme to be a very excellent piece of public service broadcasting, and there is huge credit due to the BBC in terms of pulling together that documentary. And I would ask the question, because the question has been posed and it wasn't posed in the House here today, why was it the case that when queries were put by the makers of the programme to both Sinn Féin and the IRA, that those were not responded to in the course of the making of that programme? We haven't heard why in any of the contributions already, and we may hear later on from some of the Sinn Féin speakers as to why they refused to cooperate with the makers of that programme. I also want to say that, like my party leader, that I've met with Maria Cahill, and I found her to be a woman of the utmost integrity, substance and character, and that she fully deserves to be listened to and to have justice. And that is why we are debating this here today, and that is why I and my party have been working with her to support her. And why are we here? We're here for a number of reasons. We're here for justice for Maria Cahill, as I say, and indeed the many other people who were abused. We're here also for political accountability. And political accountability isn't an à la carte process. It has to be consistent, and it has to be consistent across all political parties, and not just some. And it has to be consistent across all of the individuals also. But most importantly, we are here for children who are abused, for women who are abused, and indeed for vulnerable men who find themselves subject to abuse. We have to be here to give them a voice and to represent them and to speak up for them when they feel that they are not being spoken up for, or that their characters are being rubbished and trashed in the pursuit of justice. And I want to put it on the record that I refute and I reject the Sinn Féin spin that has been spun out here again today against my party leader and against my party, that we are seeking to gain some type of cheap political advantage. Nothing is further from the truth. We have been working with Maria Cahill for over 2 years, and you aren't hearing about it for the last 2 years. You heard about it when Maria Cahill decided to go public, and we didn't seek over the last 2 years to have any cheap political advantage about it, and we make no apology to anybody for seeking to represent somebody who has a genuine case. So it's time for Sinn Féin to step up and be judged by the same standards that apply to the rest of us, and not seeking to have some form of different standard. And I would like to ask Sinn Féin and their representatives a number of questions in terms of taking responsibility. Do they accept Maria Cahill's account in full or just partially? Does Gerry Adams accept that he behaved deeply irresponsibly for a public representative in relation to Maria Cahill? Did Sinn Féin personnel interfere with the operation of the Cahill case when it was before the Public Prosecution Service? Did Sinn Féin IRA conduct an internal review into the issue in 2005, and will this review be forwarded to the independent relevant authorities? How many individuals were moved from Northern Ireland into the South as a result of IRA investigations into sexual abuse? And most importantly, and this is where responsibility comes into play also, where are these individuals now located? What counties are they in? What parishes are they in? I think the narrative which we have heard in this debate is quite staggering on a number of levels. We have the narrative of acquittals. Sinn Féin speakers tell us that the people who are alleged to have committed this abuse, that they were acquitted. No, they weren't acquitted. There was no court process. And all of this is to try and throw doubt and throw cold water on the issue which is being discussed. No court case, no acquittal, and it's the usual play on words. And then we have the lines that Sinn Féin fully cooperated with the police, or the IRA people, or the alleged abusers fully cooperated with the police. What does that mean? In the instances of some of the Sinn Féin people, They made very cleverly crafted and edited and scripted statements through their solicitors. And we've heard, indeed, some of those solicitors speaking on the public media over the last number of weeks in relation to this, seeking in their own clever, legalistic way to discredit Maria Cahill and others. Now, we've heard about whistleblowers, and there's a big irony here in relation to whistleblowers, because we heard about the Department of Enterprise whistleblower this morning, and we have debated on many occasions whistleblowers like Maurice McCabe and John Wilson. And when their characters were questioned publicly by public officials, Sinn Féin were in here like the rest of us, questioning the people and calling to account the people who were questioning the integrity of the whistleblowers. But that standard then wasn't applied to one of their own. When one of their own whistleblowers, from their own community, from their own political party, once upon a time becomes a whistleblower, the campaign kicks into gear to discredit. Another double standard in terms of how you treat anyone who is speaking up against the organisation of old and of present, of course. Now, in relation to cyberbullying, it takes many forms. And you know what? We've all been subjected to the faceless eggheads, and we've all been attacked, and I've been attacked, and I can take it. But there are people out there, including Maria Cahill, who have been subjected to the vilest of online abuse and attacks by members within Sinn Féin, and Sinn Féin know this. They know that their own people are attacking Maria Cahill online, and I haven't heard anything about it, or indeed any calls from them, from their leaders, to their own faceless, egghead keyboard warriors. But of course it's not just online. Sinn Féin at the time, recently, in the not too recent past, they saw fit to serialise one of the alleged abusers of Maria Cahill in Unpublic. So it takes many forms. It comes in the print media also. And the culture of denial and cover-up from Sinn Féin IRA isn't something which is new. I remember in my own constituency before I was elected, when Detective Garda Jerry McCabe was gunned down in the line of duty, the first response from Sinn Féin at the time was, nothing to do with us. The next step in the response was, it was unauthorised. The third step in the response was then maybe to take some form of a responsibility that their members were involved in it. And again, of course, the pressure of witness intimidation did happen in that case also. Because I remember meeting a person who was a witness to that, a courier driver from Limerick, who received visits to his house in the middle of the night from Sinn Féin IRA people not to cooperate with An Garda Síochána and not to give evidence as to what he saw. So what we're seeing in relation to Maria Cahill in the present day is a continuation of what happened in the days before the Good Friday Agreement, and it now continues. So that is a double standard. That is a double standard, and don't seek to come in here to claim to be judged by a different standard, but yet at the same time act in a different manner. I just want to say, in relation to the reviews which are ongoing in the north of Ireland, are Sinn Féin and the IRA going to cooperate now with these ongoing independent reviews? And I also want to say, in relation to the attack on the freedom of the media and the press which Sinn Féin are engaging in. You know, lads, you got to live in the real world. We all are subject to media scrutiny, whether we like it or not. And making the comments like you did in the United States of America in relation to newspaper editors and trying to turn yourselves into the victim, and it's all a big form of collusion against yourselves. It was disgusting and it was despicable, and it should be redacted. I just want to conclude by saying a number of things. I support my party's call for a commission of investigation into this, a cross-border commission of investigation, north-south, which will investigate into the movement and the cover-up of child sex offenders. And the second strand of this, it should have two strands, that's the first. The second strand should be to look at the systematic punishment beatings of children who were forced to move south following that. I think it should be headed up by a double judicial body of persons, one from the north and one from the south. And I think it's time in the interests of politics in this country, that we don't have, or that we cease to have, an unelected cabal of IRA people in West Belfast or in Belfast seeking to run political affairs and run interference in political affairs in this country. And the new people in Sinn Féin, if they want to stand up to be counted, the Mary Lou McDonalds and all the other new people, don't be trying to impress the faceless cabal of unelected people in the west of Belfast. Represent the people that elect you here in this jurisdiction and abide by the standard that the rest of us are being held to and that we have to abide to also.
Thank you, Deputy Collins.